The, we're going to be speaking about the holiday of Shavuot, and as you see in the title, if someone stops you for a minyan in the airport, if you're in or so, this is going to be our discussion for today, and we're going to try to figure out a good enough answer. In any case, the Torah was given to the Jewish people 3,335 years ago exactly, in the year 2448 from the creation of the world, which is, for all other numbers, it would be 1313 BCE. Now, it took 2,448 years from the creation of the world for Hashem to give us the Torah. We had to go through Egypt, and we had to prepare ourselves for this great, powerful revelation. Now, Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the month of Sivan, which was this past Sunday, and the year the Torah was given, it was on a Monday, and the next day, which was a Tuesday, Hashem told the Jewish people, "You are like my kings," as we're going to explain in a moment. The Jewish people said, "We will hear and we will do, and then we will hear," which means we will first accept, and then we will hear the details. Then on Wednesday, Moses told the Jewish people they should stay away from the mountain so they shouldn't die. On Thursday and Friday, they had to separate themselves from their wives so they should be clean, and so on and so forth. And then on Shabbat, the Torah was given as explained in many different places. So this is what happened then this is the synopsis of what happened back then, 3,335 years ago. So we're going to try to explain today the idea that each of us as Jews are like kings. Each and every one of us have the power of a king. So as you see in this slide, do you have to behave like a different Jew in public and blend in, or should you continue behaving like a Jew in every single place? For instance, you're in an airport and there's a minyan of men going on the other end of the airport or next to your gate, and you're embarrassed. You see, they're all, as we say, they're with the works. They have their tefillin, they have the talis, they have the siddur, everybody's shaking, and this is in public in the airport. Now, either they ask you to join because they need a minyan, or you see the minyan going on, but you turn the other way and make like you're going to Starbucks because you really don't want to pay attention and you don't really want to join this minyan, and you want to have nothing to do with this because you're embarrassed. So the options are either you join and you're not embarrassed. Either option two, you stand on the side. You just look from a distance and you don't join. And option number three would be that you're extremely embarrassed and very uncomfortable about what's going on. So in other words, you think to yourself, is it perfectly fine? Is it too much for me, or it's really ridiculous? So we are in the diaspora when we're surrounded by non-Jews. Do we have to behave and blend in with everyone else, or should we behave quietly in our own corners? So today we're going to speak about a few things that happened on the holiday of Shavuot, which will give us an idea how we should be behaving in this type of situation. So there's several things and several people throughout our history that are connected with Shavuot. The Jewish people, throughout the generations, accepted upon themselves to keep the Torah. There's many leaders throughout the generations. In our history, there were many leaders. Today, we're going to speak about three of them. Moses, King David, and Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov. These three great individuals are connected to the receiving of the Torah. Are connected to the holiday of Shavuot. Moses, Torah was given through Moses. King David passed away on Shavuot. The Baal Shem Tov also passed on the holiday of Shavuot. Now, we understand their connection to the holiday of Shavuot because something happened and they passed, or Moses gave the Torah. Through Moses, the Torah was given through Moses. But what's the lesson that we could learn out from this in 2023, many years after the Torah was given? Each one of these individuals are a king in his own right. The day we received the Torah, God proclaimed us as kings. Even though King David was a king, but we're soon going to see that every one of us have the power of a king. Moses was not only a leader of the Jews, but as you see here in text number 5, he's also called a king. King David, of course, text number 6, God said, "You are a king and your ancestors will be kings." The Baal Shem Tov, what does he have to do with a king? Well, he lived in a small town in Ukraine. He for sure was not a king over his country, but whoever stood in front of the Baal Shem Tov felt that he was standing in front of royalty. Like those of you that have seen the Lubavitcher Rebbe, those of you that have seen holy tzaddikim, you see royalty in front of your eyes. So when you looked at the Baal Shem Tov, you saw royalty, which is the concept of kings. These three, Moses, King David, and the Baal Shem Tov, are connected to Shavuot, and it teaches us a very important lesson. What does it mean that Hashem made us as kings? We are not kings in our personal lives. And many of us know you could be an employee and your boss is the king, so to speak. In your own home, you might not have the last word. In many circumstances, maybe we're not kings. Well, here is the point. Hashem gave us the mindset of a king. And let me explain to you this fascinating idea that Hashem gave every one of us the mindset to be like a king. The Baal Shem Tov was not a physical king. He didn't even have authority over his country, but he behaved with loyalty more than many kings. Today, we're going to speak about what we could learn from the Baal Shem Tov and how it's connected to our day-to-day lives. Let's discuss how kings behave for a moment. A king is not worried what other people say about him. Everything goes his way. If he wants something to happen, it will happen. He, of course, doesn't have arrogance. That's opposite of the way a king should behave. But when he wants something, it's going to happen. This is how we have to conduct our lives. Don't allow others to get in the way or to say an opinion when it comes to keeping a mitzvah. If you want to do a mitzvah, you do it. You're not influenced or affected by what anyone else has to say. You want to put up a mezuzah on your door. You would like to wear a kippah. You would like to wear tzitzis. You would like to shake the lulav. You would like to put on tefillin. You're not embarrassed. Even if that means putting on a pair of tefillin in the airport or possibly sometimes on an airplane. We, of course, don't behave with disrespect to others. You're polite. You think about other people's feelings. But other people's feelings will not stop you from doing what's right. And this is what it means that Hashem made us as kings. But wait a minute. It sounds good. It sounds nice. Of course, King David would definitely put on tefillin in the airport, but there's many of us that are embarrassed to shake a lulav in the street or to put a menorah in a public area. You're afraid what your neighbors are going to say. Even though your neighbors have holiday decoration, but we're only a minority. We're less than 1% of the population. How could I not be embarrassed to practice Judaism? How could I not be embarrassed to put on tefillin on an airplane when everyone is looking at me? Well, this is what we could learn from the three kings: Moses, David, Baal Shem Tov. Especially the Baal Shem Tov, that lived in a time of darkness. Definitely we could learn from him how he held strong, and we could definitely do the same, as we're going to see in a moment. Each one of these three giants, the Baal Shem Tov, King David, and Moses, lived in different generations. Let's start with Moses. Could you imagine the beautiful life that took place in the time of Moses? The cloud protected them from the sun and all other obstacles. They had water from the well of Miriam, from the rock, food from heaven, and the list goes on and on. Not only, as we see here in text number 10a, not only did they get food from heaven, but the food also came down with silver and gold and pearl necklaces. All kinds of beautiful jewels came down with them on. They were wealthy physically, and the main thing was they were wealthy spiritually. They almost had the ability to see God. That's how close they were to godliness. In the times of Moses, you definitely never thought about what other people say. You were in a desert, and there's no one else you have to be influenced by. You were rich, you were like a king, and you felt completely independent. You had nothing to worry about. You lived a spiritual life, and you didn't think about what anybody around you would say. What Moses did for us is that when you're studying Torah, you could escape all your worries around you. You're connected to God, and your soul is ignited. I don't care about what's going on in the world. I'm not paying attention to the news. I don't even care what's going on in my personal life. I'm studying Torah now. This is what's so important. All your problems at home, all your problems at business, all the problems of the world don't exist at this moment. This is the power that Moses gave us. Just like he was in the desert and everything was taken care of, when you open that book and study Torah, the world doesn't exist. Nothing will stop you. You're one with God in your Torah study. Then came King David. He was a king, and he was already established in the Holy Land of Israel. He had to fight enemies. You had to work the field. It wasn't like the desert. It was already at a much different level. There was much more holiness, much more challenges. But through his prayers, he was able to influence his mind and heart of every single Jew. You work, but you know Hashem is going to help you. Yes, you had to work the field, but you knew your blessings are going to come from Hashem. You fought battles, but you knew it's going to come through Hashem, the victory of the battles. He gave us success like a king. It was easier to influence the Jewish people in that state of mind in the Holy Land of Israel. King David wrote the book of Psalms, speaks about the love to God. You trust Hashem in your prayers. When you pray with the words of King David, you don't feel like a poor man at the door asking for a couple pennies. You feel like a rich man's prayer, like a king. It's easy to feel like a king because you're focusing on King David's prayers. And therefore on Shavuot, we have the influence of Moses, the influence of King David to make us feel like kings when nothing is in our way and nothing will stop us from doing the right thing. Then we come to the times of the Baal Shem Tov. We're now in the diaspora, we're not in Israel. Learning Torah might sound easy in the times of Moses, prayer in the times of King David. But how do we feel and practice this way today? We're not really ultimately in our own space. There's rules. You have to go to work. You have to deal with challenges. Comes the Baal Shem Tov and teaches us. He was in the one of the lowest times of the Jewish people is when the Baal Shem Tov started. He, however, awakened everyone to be strong with their Judaism. The contribution of the Baal Shem Tov to the world is the most relevant, especially today. It teaches us that we could disconnect ourselves from the limitations of the world, even in the diaspora. It gives us the feeling that we're free to serve Hashem without any limitations. Of course, we're living in a country that doesn't belong to us, and we're limited by rules. But when Hashem made us like kings, he gave us the ability that if you choose to be committed, Hashem will find a way to give you success. The limitations of the world will fade away. Things that you thought will never happen will happen. Meaning, if you thought you'll never be able to put on tefillin every day, you thought you'll never be able to keep Shabbos, you'll be surprised that it will be able to happen. We have to learn from kings how. The Baal Shem Tov taught us. Nothing will stand in the way of your 100% commitment to Hashem. The world will not stop you. One of the main teachings of the Baal Shem Tov is Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence, which means that every single thing in this world is controlled and planned by Hashem. Not only humans, not only animals, even plants. A leaf that falls off the tree was controlled by Hashem. Up till the smallest thing that's happening was already decided in the creation of the world 5,783 years ago. Doesn't take away from your free choice, which we'll get into a discussion another time. But this is the idea. Hashgacha pratis means the specific behavior that Hashem controls. Especially for humans, you think your life is random. And not every detail is part of the plan of the creation. This is what you might think. But everything has a plan. And this explains to us, you have the power to be strong with your decisions, whether it's kosher or Shabbos or lighting Shabbat candles or going to the mikveh, whatever it is. You have the ability to decide to do it because we are like kings. And this explains us the airport story. Before Hashem created the world, he already planned that in the creation of the world, you're going to end up in the airport and end up close to a minyan. At this time and at that place, because maybe your flight was delayed, or maybe their flight was delayed, or maybe some coincidence happened that you ended up there. But it's not coincidence. This was planned in the creation of in the beginning of the creation of the world. You maybe think you're flying for a business deal, which you actually are. But Hashem also planned that this should happen. You just have to think, why did Hashem set it up that you should be here in this time and in this place? You have to see what you could do to serve Hashem. Sometimes it's hard to find and understand what the circumstances are. But here it's clear. Just get involved. If you're sitting in the airport and someone says shalom, and you ask him if he's Jewish and he says, yeah, of course, build up a conversation with him. Start talking. Ask him if he wants to put on tefillin. Maybe if there's a minyan right near you in the airport, it's the greatest sign that you should get involved. What if someone starts screaming and says, this is not a synagogue here? Why are you guys praying? This is not a place to be praying. Guess what? We don't care. We're doing what Hashem wants because we have to daven now. Of course, we're respectful to the people around us. But if we have no choice and we have to pray because it's late, we do it in a respectful way. The entire airport, all the clerks, all the pilots, all the stewards, all the workers, the whole airport was possibly created just so you should be able to pray there right now. And look at you and overcome your hesitations. They cannot go against their purpose, which is to watch you davening. And if someone screams, it will not stop you. You are a king. You have the power of kings. And this story that's happening now is bringing out the king within you. And this is going to strengthen you and awaken you and inspire the people around you. This moment was created for you to shine. Do not be scared. You have nothing to fear but fear itself. The only thing that holds you back is you. It's not what people think. It's what you think. Are you secure and confident to behave like a king? God created this moment to uncover your power. Be confident and secure, confident in Judaism. Stop playing defense. It's time to be strong with your Judaism. And this is what we're learning from the holiday of Shavuot. No matter where you are and what situation, you feel strong and you feel powerful to be able to be a proud Jew in any situation that it may be. The stage is ready. The audience is there. The curtains are open. Everyone is waiting for the star of the show. And that's you. You have the merit and the zchut to do it. No one is exempt of this moment that your soul came into the body. The scene is waiting for you. The question is, when are you going to show up? The decision is in your hands to strengthen yourself in your Judaism. It's in your hands to be strong like a king. Hashem already gave you the power. He already gave you the ability to do it. It's in your hands to decide to do it. The ball is in your court. You have the ability and the power to be able to go out there and strengthen no matter what situation you may be in. And this is what Hashem appointed us on the holiday of Shavuot. He gave us the ability to be able to act like kings in every situation of Judaism. And of course, it's a lesson that we could take in many aspects of life, to not be influenced by the surroundings and not care what people say around us, and allow us to live our life the fullest and feel proud and strong and confident and not embarrassed of the fact that we are a Jew. Any questions?
Rabbi, so it was interesting listening to what you were saying, but I think that, had the Torah been given in some city or in Israel, it would be completely different. The fact that the Torah was given in the wilderness, not in a specific country, you could see the brilliance of that. There were no distractions. It was just the elements, fire, water, mountains. So it's very interesting that Torah was given when there was nothing around, right? So people could focus on that. And then it progressed into...
And not be distracted by the surroundings. But the lesson today is even stronger, that not only we should learn from the idea that it was in the desert, that there was nothing, but it gives us the power that even when there's distractions, we go back to the nothingness.
Right. It started in nothingness, which is very interesting. It wasn't given in Israel. It wasn't given in a big city where you have... So the fact that it was given in that isolation, you could focus strictly on that and then take it with you. And in fact, when you're davening, you are like you're with one. You forget about what's around you. So it's just very interesting how it was given, because like you said, Hashem plans everything, and he could have given it anything. So I've never thought about it in that way, but you're talking made me realize, like, why Mount Sinai? Nobody even knows where that is. So you can't go, but that it was given in the wilderness. I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And Hashem wanted to show that the Torah is free for all. Right. It doesn't belong to anyone specific. It belongs to every one of us.
It belongs to the world.
Have to grab it.
Yes.
I caught only the last 5 minutes, but I think I got the theme from that. Ironically, I was davening mincha at a rest area. However, I try to do it in a more discreet place because there are often dogs walking by. But happy Shavuot.
Well, you actually hit it on the button, because today we were talking about that even if you're in the airport, you shouldn't be embarrassed to join the Minyan, and that's exactly what you did. You stopped and davened mincha.
Oh no, I wasn't embarrassed to read, but I think the right thing in rest areas, because the dog may poop in front of you or something. So I try to be as far from that as possible. So that's why I do it that way at a rest area.
Okay.
On my way to Florida. All right. Happy Shavuos, everyone.
Okay. Good Yom Tif. And don't forget to eat cheesecake. Sei gesund, everyone. And don't forget that we're having a reading of the 10 Commandments Friday at 9 a.m., followed by a dairy buffet And that's the highlight of Shavuot. So,
Baruch Hashem.
Rabbi,
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
where is that going to happen? Where, at 9 o'clock at the Chabad?
9 o'clock Friday morning.
At the Chabad.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Take care,
very much.
everyone. Have a good evening. All the
Thank you,
best. Okay. Bye.